And again, everyone, thanks so much for investing time with us this morning to learn more about our desking functionality within the Autosoft DMS. And today's session is really going to focus on desking deals within Autosoft itself. So if you are doing all of your desking within the DMS or want to be able to desk completely out of Autosoft, this session's for you. And the first thing that we're going to talk about is how to start a deal within Autosoft. And there's a few different ways that you can do it depending on how you want that process to work at the store. So I always like to say that Autosoft can adapt to whatever you want your process to be. So whether you have a traditional setup in that you have a dedicated sales manager and a dedicated finance manager, everyone's going to be working out of the same environment. Or if you have one person that carries the customer through the entire sales process from start to finish, we're going to show you how that works as well. So the first place that you can start a deal from is as soon as you log into Autosoft. So once you log into Sales and Customer Management here, you're going to land on the main dashboard. And a lot of folks don't know you can actually configure this. So you can dictate what widgets and what information you want to have on your main dashboard as soon as you log in. And this is user specific. So each individual user can see what they want to see as soon as they log into Autosoft. And one of the things that you can incorporate into the main dashboard is the quick action widgets. So from here, this is the first place that you can start a new deal while you are in Autosoft. The second place is if you come up to the quick links. So when you come up to quick links and you go to favorites, this enables you to start a new deal from any screen that you're on in Autosoft. So no matter where you're at within Sales and Customer Management, you can go ahead and you can start a new deal from any screen. The next place is if you come to the sales section here in the navigation bar. This is going to take you to all of your current working deals. It's also going to show you exactly where you're at month to date as far as sales go for the store. But when you click on new deal right from here, this is then going to take you into the main desking screen. So whether you start it from the dashboard, from the quick links, or click on new deal, it's going to bring up the prompts so that you can now dictate the type of deal that you'd like to work, whether it's a finance deal, cash deal, or lease deal. You can then associate your source along with the staff affiliated with the deal. So for your salesperson, finance manager, sales manager, all that information can be entered right here. Template, we're going to talk about in a little bit. We're going to talk about how you can create templates, save them, and incorporate them whenever you go to start a deal. So now when I click on save, that's going to take me into the main desking screen, and it's going to give me that blank canvas that I can start working my deal on. So at this point in time, I have a completely empty main desking screen. So now I'm in control as far as how I want to set up my deal within Autosoft. So if I want to start by adding a vehicle record, I can do so. So I can select a vehicle that I want to work my deal on right from here, and I can then add a buyer. Or if I wanted to add a buyer first and then add the vehicle record, I can do it in any order that I want. So again, making it very easy depending on how you want that process to work at the store. Now there's two more ways that we can start a deal within Autosoft. If you are in an actual customer record, so like if you're in this customer's customer record here, you can start a new deal right from within that customer record. And it would lead you into the main desking screen, but it would bring over all of that customer information for you so that the only thing that you would need to do at that point is then add the vehicle. And then, of course, if you're in an inventory record, so when you're in an inventory record, you can click on new deal. And again, it takes you into the main desking screen with all that vehicle information so that then all you would need to do is add your customer record to complete the deal. And in this case, I'm going to bring up a deal. And here within the deal, you can see that I have everything filled out from a standpoint of the customer record, the vehicle record, and also the structure here. Now, there's a couple other things that I wanted to highlight on the main desking screen that you may or may not be aware of. And one of the things that I always like to point out in the bottom right-hand corner under where you're discerning whether you're working a finance deal, cash deal, or lease deal, Down here, you have your truth in lending information. So this shows you the breakdown as far as the finance charge, the total of payments, total amount of money down, which can include trade value, and then your total sale price. And over here, if you click on this payment matrix, you're in control as far as how you want everything to be set as far as term and rate goes. So this gives you the ability to turn your screen around. So if you wanted to show the customer multiple payments right here on the screen, you can click on the presentation view, which that's going to hide anything as far as your front and back end gross goes, but it allows you to show a customer multiple payments right here on the screen. And you can set it up based on what you want to show as far as rate and term. So like I have mine set to go a point in either direction and also 12 months in either direction as far as term goes. And you're also going to be able to dictate whenever you start a deal, the type of deal that you'd like to create upon either starting a deal from scratch or creating it from a customer record or an inventory record. So if you go into your setups here, so the deal defaults and allow you to control the type of deal that you want to start out with. This is where you can also dictate whether you want to start primarily on a new vehicle or used vehicle. You can dictate the price that you want to use. So if you are using multiple retail pricing, you can select the price that you want to start off with. You'll also be able to default your staff as far as your sales manager and finance manager. And then here is where you can set up what you want to have your deal start as. So your payment type. You can also dictate term and rate and days to first payment. So again, those are going to be your defaults each time you go to create a new deal within Autosoft. And then down here, the payment term offset is where you set up the parameters of your payment matrix. So like I mentioned before, mine's set to go 12 months as far as term goes and a point in either direction. And then down here is where I can set up everything for my lease deal. So if you're doing leasing, this is where you can come in and you can set up the default term, the default money factor, residual, and days to first payment. So all that lives here within the setups. If you go to sales and you go right here to deal defaults. So going back into the main desking screen, as I always like to say, whenever we are showcasing Autosoft to a prospective client, you can work through the entire deal from start to finish right here from this screen. And being that Autosoft Sales and Customer Management is in a browser-based environment, it makes it very easy for you to have multiple deals open and working simultaneously. So if it's a Saturday and you have 4 or 5 people on the lot, you can have each customer's deal open in its own tab. So it makes it very easy to move back and forth between deals without having to log out of one and then log into another. Also, while you're here on the main desking screen, again, we talked to that presentation view a couple minutes ago. This is where you can see where you're at in the deal as it relates to your front and back end gross in real time. So of course, as you make any sort of adjustments here to the deal structure, these numbers are automatically going to recalculate for you. And that presentation view hides everything so that if you did need to turn your screen around and show the customer their deal, you could do so and not reveal anything you should. And also another thing to be mindful of whenever you're working a deal in Autosoft here, this pending repairs alert. This lets you know that there's an open repair order on that vehicle in the service department. So anytime you see that, you can come right to the vehicle section while you're here in your deal. So you don't have to leave the deal in order to access the inventory record information. So this shows me everything as far as all of my cost and pricing information, just as if I were in the inventory record itself. And the red triangle here, that alerts you to the open RO. If you hover over it, it's going to show you the dollar amount of the open repair order. And then when you go into the service history here, this is where you can actually drill down into the details and see all of the information associated with that open repair order. You would also be able to see any closed repair orders that have already been posted. So again, while you're in the deal, you have full insight into all the recon that's been done to that vehicle. And then if you have the proper permissions, you can also come over to accounting and you can see any other charges that have been posted to that unit's cost of sale. And of course, if you are either running AutoCheck or Carfax, we can incorporate your credentials right here into Autosoft. So it makes it very easy. If a customer has to see a copy of the Carfax while you're working the deal, you can go ahead and you can print it right from within Autosoft. And then one of the other things that's actually included with Autosoft is a direct link to the National Highway Traffic and Safety Administration website. And that's going to enable you to verify open recalls on any vehicle that you have in your inventory, and also on any vehicle that you're taking in on trade. So what it does is it links you right out to the VIN listing for that vehicle on the safercar.gov website. And one of my favorite things to show whenever I am presenting this to a prospective client, from the main desking screen, I can also present a customer with multiple purchase options. So if you come to scenarios here, you can create for each deal that you do up to 4 customizable purchase options. And you can set these up to whatever you'd like them to be. So for example, if you have someone interested in more than one vehicle, you can actually incorporate different vehicles into the 4 options. This is where you could show, for example, cash versus finance versus lease. You could show different amounts of money down, trade, no trade. Everything's in your control as far as what you want to present here within scenarios. And this screen actually prints to PDF, so it makes it very easy if you want to physically print it and work with the customer while they're there at the dealership, or if you wanted to save it and you wanted to email it over to the customer, you could do that as well. So again, it goes to PDF and you're in control as far as what gets printed here on the top for each of the scenarios. So you can make that say whatever you'd like it to be for each customer. Now, going back to the main desking screen here, a couple other things that I wanted to talk through that not everyone is aware of. First of all, the role functionality. The role functionality is very, very handy whenever you're working a deal with a customer, and it enables you to roll to a certain goal. So you can select from the dropdown what you're trying to accomplish in working the deal with the customer. So you can roll to either payment, amount financed, money down, or total gross. So for example, if you're working with this customer and they say that they'll do the deal if you can get to $775 a month, you can go ahead, you can input your target amount, whatever it may be, for anything here in the drop down to your goal. And when you click on roll, then what it's going to do is it's going to show you how you can get there. So you can come in, obviously, if you're asking the customer for more money down, it'll show you how much more that they would need to come up with to get to that payment. Also, you could change the value that you're putting into the trade, altering the sale price, or changing the APR. So now it's enabling you to dictate how you want to achieve that goal. And then it's going to change the deal structure based on the option that you've selected. The other nice thing too is it's also showing you how that's going to impact your gross as well. So for example, if we decide to just cut the sale price, this is how it's going to impact my front end gross. So when I click apply, it's going to recalculate the deal to meet that goal. And one of the other features that I like to showcase too, and this really comes in handy, especially if you're doing a lot of wholesale transactions to a single buyer, or maybe you're doing some fleet deals and you have a fleet customer coming in that's buying multiple vehicles from you. We have what we call the duplicate deal functionality. In the duplicate deal functionality, this enables you to maintain the same buyer, but allow you to add multiple vehicles. So you can come in and you can actually add up to 10 vehicles right here. And what this will allow you to do is it will allow you to select what other deals you would like to generate for that customer. So if I wanted to come in and I wanted to, sell this individual multiple vehicles, I could come in and I could very easily dictate what deals that I want to create. And then what I could also do is I could indicate whether or not I want to include the trade on any of those additional deals. So if I want to add the trade and information to those deals, I have the option to include the trade whenever I create these duplicate deals. So when I click duplicate deal, what that's now going to do is it's going to open up each of these other individual deals now in separate tabs for me. So again, makes it very, very easy for you if you are maybe wholesaling several vehicles to an individual buyer, or maybe you have that fleet customer coming in that's buying 5 or 6 trucks from you, and you want to be able to create those deals individually. So you have now all of those individual deals in addition to the one that you originally worked, and all of that information is now going to go through into those individual deals. So now going back to our main desking screen here, one of the other things I did want to touch on too for our Ford dealers out there, if you are doing any Ford flex buys, we have that calculation built into Autosoft. So if you go to your payment type here and you go to the Ford flex buy, this will allow you to select that option for that deal calculation. And then you can come in and you can select the option that's relevant for the deal that you're working right here. So again, that is specific to our Ford customers. And the last thing that I wanted to focus on for desking today is what we talked about initially when we were creating a deal from scratch. So when we were creating a deal from scratch, you saw that option to go in and actually create a deal template. And the deal template really comes in handy, especially if you're a dealership that is doing a high volume of leasing, or if you're doing subprime, or if you just want to be able to very easily recreate a certain type of deal for multiple customers. So whenever I come in to create a new deal, this is where if I'm selecting from one of my existing templates, I can select the template that I want to incorporate into the new deal that I'm creating. However, if I'm creating a template for the first time, I'm going to want to start off by selecting what type of deal that I want to create for that template. So for example, if I'm doing a lease and I want to click save, that takes me into the main desking screen now for a lease deal. So now this is where I'd be able to come in and I would be able to set everything up. So for example, if I needed to come in and I needed to select a certain lender for that deal, I could do that. This is where I'd be able to come in. I'd be able to set everything as far as what my money factor is. I'd be able to set what my term is. And then I'd also be able to come over here and incorporate my residual. I'd be able to also, if I needed to associate any sort of money down with that lease, I could go ahead and do that right here as well. Rebates, this is where I'd be able to come in and I'd be able to associate the proper rebates with that lease. So just as if you were doing a regular lease deal or a regular retail deal, this is where you'd be able to come in. You'd be able to add all of the relevant rebates that would be associated with that template that you're creating. But ultimately, once you have the template set up the way that you want it to be, at this point, you can come right up here and you can go to save as template. So what that's going to do is that is going to prompt you to name that template. So we'll just go ahead. So we'll just say, go ahead and we'll just name it 2025 Ram 1500 lease special for February. We'll click save. So now that deal template that I've created here has been included in my template dropdown. So whenever I go to create a new deal and I utilize that template, it's going to take me right here to this specific structure, so that the only thing I would now need to do is just select the relevant vehicle and then of course go in and add the customer to it, so that then that way I can go off and running and I already have everything created here within the template to build out that deal. So at this point, that wraps up everything from a content standpoint. So we've gone through everything from a desking standpoint here within Autosoft as far as how you would start your deal, how you would work through everything. And then, of course, now you're at the phase where you would need to go and print your F&I paperwork. So when you go to forms, this is where you'd be able to come in and generate all of the F&I paperwork associated with the deal. So as the finance manager, whoever's responsible for generating the paperwork, they would come into forms and they would print everything associated with the deal right from here. One thing I did forget to highlight before we wrap up here is in the trade section. This is where you would come to add any trade associated with the deal. So let me go back and pull up my deal here that I had working for our customer. Whenever I add a trade into my deal, with Autosoft, you can first of all have up to 3 trades per deal. So when you click on add trade, that's what's going to take you into the trade entry screen. And when you input the VIN, it's automatically going to be decoded for you. One of the other things too that you'll notice here is if the customer is trading in a vehicle that they purchased from your dealership, you can actually select it right here from the drop down, and you can incorporate everything right here into the trade entry screen without having to manually key in the VIN. But if it's something that they didn't buy from your dealership and you're adding to the deal as a trade, you'll start by inputting the VIN. It automatically decodes everything for you as far as your year, make, model, and trim. And then you can add any of the other relevant information here to the trade as far as the titling information, if they have the title, your license plate information, the color of the interior and exterior. You can also incorporate your trade-in allowance and ACV. So the allowance is what you're showing the customer their vehicle is worth. The ACV is what you feel that vehicle is actually worth as it's sitting in front of you. Any difference between these two numbers is going to be reflected in your front end gross. So if you ACV this vehicle at $1,500, but you only showed the customer $1,000, then $500 would be added to your front end gross to make up for the under allowance. And then below is where you'd be able to add any sort of lien holder information if that trade has a payoff on it. So that's where you'd be able to input everything as far as the payoff details and the lien holder. So at this point, we've covered everything from a desking standpoint as far as structuring the deal within Autosoft, walking through the ability to create a deal in multiple different ways, incorporating scenarios to present customers with multiple payment options, and also utilizing some of the other main desking screen functionalities such as the payment matrix and the roll functionality. So at this point in time, I again just want to thank everyone for their attendance with us this morning on our Insights webinar, and I will officially turn the meeting back over to Zach, who can field any questions that you may have for us.
Thank you, Michael. Yeah, just like he mentioned, and I'm going to take the ball if that's okay, Michael, and share my screen. Now's the time where you can ask any questions you'd like pertaining to the content that we covered today. You can either type them into the chat section, you can use the Q&A section of the meeting, or you can raise your hand. But we will wait on the line if there are any further questions that the people would like to have. Looks like Nick may have a question. Nick, let me unmute your line here. All right, go ahead and ask your question, Michael. You may have to unmute your own microphone, but you are ready to go.
Can you hear me?
Yep, you're on.
Now
Nick,
we got
can
you.
hear you.
I just had a quick question. I missed the part where he said that you can have multiple tabs open for different customers at the same time. What would be the easiest way to do that? I missed that.
So depending upon how you're working your deals, if you look at
You can go ahead and share your screen again, Michael, if you'd like.
Okay, I forgot I was not sharing there. Let me go ahead and do that. So what you can do, the easiest way if you are needing to work multiple deals is if you come back to, if we start in sales, and this is where you have your working deal list. So this is where you can see every single deal that you've created within Autosoft. And, a lot of users default this to working. But if you are wanting to have multiple deals open, you can just simply click this arrow and it's going to open the deal up in a separate tab. So if we open up our deal for Alan, we open up our deal for Kathy.
Okay.
So it'll open them up in the separate tabs. And up at the top, if you notice here where it says deal, you have the customer's last name next to the deal.
Sure.
So it makes it easy to
Sure.
identify what deal you're in. And then you can just maneuver back and forth between the tabs rather than having to log out of one and log into another.
Okay. I was just curious if let's say I'm in this Alan Fry
Mhm.
and I wanted to quickly move to a new deal. Is there a quick way to go to a new deal, or do I need to save this, go back to sales and click on new deal? Or can I do it from this screen, just start a new deal for a new customer?
You sure can. So if you come up here
the
to
quick
your
links. Okay.
quick links, and then you go to new deal right from here, then you
Okay.
would actually be able to start working a new deal right away. So
Perfect.
it would ask you the type of deal that you want to work, and you'd be able to start going into that brand new deal.
Great. That was my question. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Nick. Any other questions? Again, you can use the chat feature, you can use the Q&A button as well, or you can raise your hand and we'll unmute your line. While we're waiting, if there are any additional questions, let me go over some of the things to expect after the webinar concludes. Be sure to check your email. You'll have a link to re-watch this webinar that will come to your email. You can share that with other members of your dealership if you'd like. And this webinar, along with any other future website or future webinars, they'll be posted to Autosoft University, which if you're not on Autosoft University yet, you can reach out to your account manager and they can set you up with getting a login. It's a tool that comes with your Autosoft DMS. So it features all different types of learning modules, ways to get better at using the Autosoft DMS. So whether you've been on Autosoft for 20 years or 2 days, there's going to be some valuable courses in there that'll help you be more proficient with Autosoft. Okay, if there are no further questions, I want to thank you again for being here. On your screen right now is a QR code with a link to a survey. We would love to hear from you on what other topics you would like to learn about. From anybody here at Autosoft, that we have so many subject matter experts. We can cover anything in the DMS that you're wanting to learn more about. And whether that's for you or for another department, please scan that QR code so we can have insights into what you would like to learn. Also is some information regarding your client success managers. If you do not know who your client success manager is, you can email account managers at autosoftdms.com or dial the phone number there on your screen, 844-888-8200. And then option 2 will get you right in touch with those client success managers. You can talk with the one that's assigned to your dealership. And once again, thank you for joining us. We look forward to connecting with you in the future. Have a fantastic day and take care.